Hey, how's it going YouTube? I'm your host today, Landon Dowlatsingh, and welcome back to a brand new Most Amazing Top 10 video. I thought we would switch it up for this one and sit down for this video, but before we get started, I want to remind you guys we have an awesome merch shop. You guys should check it out at mostamazingshop.com. This is one of the new shirts. We have red, we have purple, and we have a lot of female shirts now, so make sure you guys click the link in the description below. Head over to mostamazingshop.com. Okay, people with criminal records have an extreme hard time getting hired or changing their lives around. However, there are a lot of cases of ex-convicts becoming successful after their release from behind bars. So you know what? This is the top 10 most dangerous convicts who changed their life around. Starting us off on this list, at number 10 we have Jay Levine, who was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for offenses related to securities fraud, narcotics, obstruction of justice, and possession of deadly weapons. After he was released from prison, he took all of that knowledge that he gained from his experience in prison and used them to serve as a prison consultant. He also provides legal services to both felons and attorneys. Glenn E. Martin comes in at number 9. He spent 6 years in New York prison for armed robbery of a New York jewelry store. He spent some time in a very violent prison known as Rikers Island, but while he was in prison he took several college courses and he earned an associate degree in social science. After being released, he founded an organization that is dedicated to reducing the crime rate and improving the condition for inmates. Coming in at number 8, we have Reginald Dwayne Betts made a stupid mistake when he was 16 years old when him and a friend robbed a man with a deadly weapon and stole his car. He was caught, tried as an adult, and sentenced to 9 years in prison. While he was incarcerated, he was obsessed with poetry, and after he got out, he became an activist for reforming the juvenile justice system. He established a reading club for the young men in this area in order to keep them off the streets. Mark Reed makes its way into number 7. He was a troubled teenager who spent his criminal youth robbing drug dealers with deadly weapons. He developed a reputation as a dangerous loose cannon. He spent a lot of time in and out of prison for various offenses such as armed robbery and attempted to abduct a judge. Is this real life right now? While he was in prison, he wrote several crime novels based on his own experiences, which later became bestsellers. After he was released, he went on to become a celebrity, starring in several films. Number 6 takes us to the convicted murderer who turned into a lawyer. Daniel Manville spent over 3 years behind bars for manslaughter, but he continued to study while he was incarcerated, and he eventually went on to earn 2 college degrees during his sentence. He even passed the bar exam after he finally was approved by the ethics board to practice law. Daniel Manville worked really hard to turn his life around, and now he teaches law at Michigan State University, where he hopes to inspire his students with his story. Afrika Bambaaraa makes its way into number 5. He was a gang leader in the South Bronx for one of the biggest and most dangerous gangs in the area called the Black Spades. They were notorious in the area for being very violent and a scary gang. But after Afrika Bambaaraa won a trip to Africa because of an essay that he wrote, he came back to America with a newfound philosophy of community and peace. He changed his life around and went on to become a very successful hip-hop DJ. Now at number 4 is Judge Mathis. Yep, that's right, the judge that you used to watch on TV every single day used to be a dangerous criminal. He was a member of the notorious Detroit street gang known as Errol Flynn's when he was 17 years old. He was incarcerated after being arrested several times, but after his release he went to college where he became an activist, and he was later elected as a Superior Court judge for Michigan's 36th district. Paul Fauteck comes in at number 3. When he was young, he spent a lot of his time being a delinquent. He was kicked out of school for stealing wallets, and afterwards he continued to engage in questionable activities. He would carry a concealed weapon, smuggled his foreign wife into the country, and he was involved with a dangerous gang who made counterfeit checks. He was sent to a federal prison where he spent most of his time in solitary confinement for bad behavior. After he was released, he went to school for psychology, and after some time he became as one of Chicago's most respected psychotherapists. He later received a presidential pardon from President George H.W. Bush. Moving into number 2, we have Paul Wood. He was a former drug addict and convicted killer who spent 11 years in prison. When he was 18 years old, he killed his drug dealer with a baseball bat inside of his home. But now he has completely changed his life around. He has a doctorate in psychology. Actually, he earned 2 degrees and began his PhD while he was behind bars. Finally, at number 1, we're talking about Marlon Peterson. He spent over a decade in prison for second-degree murder, but he pleaded guilty to attempted robbery and assault in the first degree. During his imprisonment, he wrote letters to young people in his hometown about the devastating impact of gun violence and how it has changed his life. Since his his release, he implemented a youth empowerment program and worked to create safer communities. He is also a college graduate and published writer. Well, there you guys have it. That's the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.